All right, Kyle. That will wrap up the road trip, and the Avs win them all. Haven't said that many times this year, but you can tell things are looking different for the Avalanche still. We will discuss this latest win, their fourth on the road, seventh overall. This one's over the St. Louis Blues. New episode of Locked On Avalanche coming at
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for tuning in, making it your first listen of the day. Always appreciated. Make sure you're following us on our social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter X, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram and Threads. Questions, comments, concerns, and opinions, LockedOnAvalanche at gmail.com. And follow us over on our YouTube channel. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live, and make sure you are subscribed to our subtext as well. Link to that is in the show notes below. And when you do chat with Kyle and I one-on-one, we get your opinions on everything Avalanche related, which we share on this very podcast. All right, if you're watching over on YouTube, you can see the rundown. We will mention, sadly, the passing of Chris Simon. That came out couple hours before puck drop. So kind of a damper on the day. So we do want to mention that. We'll get to that a little bit later. Where we're going to start, Kyle, is with the game. And the Avs take this 4-3 over St. Louis. Entertaining game. And it was one where, we kind of talked about it yesterday, where you figured you were going to get the best from St. Louis, not only because it's a division rival, because they are the first team out right now and they need every possible point that they can get. And you saw it. This was a fun game, a good, entertaining game, by no means a blowout. And the Avs really had to hang on in the end, and they get the 2 points in regulation, which is always nice.
This was probably, and this has nothing to do with the game just finishing just mere minutes ago. This has to be probably my favorite game of the year. Just
Really?
the
Why is that?
intensity was just off the charts, wire to wire. That first period, some of the shifts, the Avs and the Blues, to their credit, that they were logging, they were deep, exhausting shifts. They were holding pucks in zones. Everything was clean. There were a couple of mess ups in the second, but even the recovery, everything, it was just edge of your seat. It was wonderful. It felt like a playoff game. And I loved every minute of it.
Yeah. You mentioned the mess ups and stuff like that. Both teams had them. Mm-hmm. And it was that type of game where you felt like when you screwed up, you were going to pay for it. And it did happen a couple times. And you're right with the zone possessions. Both teams had extended offensive possessions in the offensive zone. And for the Blues, they got their first goal on it. They just kept the puck and Avs could not clear. That reared its ugly head again, Kyle, for the Colorado Avalanche. Clearing the puck.
Yeah.
It was as bad as it's been maybe about a month ago. We haven't really talked about it that much lately. I think they've been doing a much better job of getting the puck out of the defensive zone. That didn't happen against St. Louis. And it bit them a couple times. But in that first goal for St. Louis, they were just cycling. The Avs did it too. Avs had some really nice long shifts. But you're right. It was a back and forth game. It did have a playoff mentality to it, and it kind of is for at least for St. Louis, because they're fighting to get in. The Avs are pretty comfortable waiting to clinch their spot, but now they're playing the seeding battle. So you got that on both teams, on both sides, going for something, and you saw it. It was great.
And something that stood out in those long shifts for the Avalanche, you have to keep reminding yourself, Middlestat and Walker, these guys have not been here this long. And for the passes and just the understanding on where everybody is at all times, it was astounding to see just even though like Sam Girard, he kind of hesitated on that one really good goal
That was a
opportunity.
bad play. Yeah,
It,
bad play.
but it was a bad play. But on the flip, he understood where his teammates are, and just for that kind of just cohesiveness for this team
Mhm.
was incredible. And like the Blues, they have it too. And this Blues teams, they've been together for a while. And when they do that long shift where they're grinding you down, it felt like you remember Avalanche Sharks games from about a decade ago? That's what the Sharks used to do. They used to keep you out there for a minute and a half, 2 minutes, no change. You just had to ride.
Mhm.
And the Blues were doing that to the Avs, and the Avs were pushing back, and it was almost like a tennis match. It was the Avs would do something, the Blues would match, and both goalies would. Eustace had great saves,
Mhm.
and there was some mess ups. Bennington, great saves, and then you took advantage of it. It was honestly who was going to score last. You're just sitting there, just hoping the Avalanche were on that one, and luckily for us, they were.
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the one Sam Girard play where it was just one of those one too many passes. Like on one hand, you're like, okay, yeah, he's trying to pass the puck back to Nathan MacKinnon of all people, which is always a smart decision. But where he was, you
Yeah,
got to rip that dude. You have to at least take the opportunity to take that shot. But on the flip side, like the one pass that he had to Casey Middlestat, where Gerard's going kind of like behind the net, and he just flips it to him, and Middlestat just absolutely rips a shot past Jordan Binnington. Like that's what the Avs have been missing. And Middlestat's not a big guy, but he always set up in the net front. He's got no problem doing that. And man, was that a shot. That was a rocket shot, which is just those are the beautiful things that you like to see that the Avs have been missing from that position. I feel like we're going to be saying that a lot with him is the things that he's doing every time something happens, you're going to hear that phrase. That's what we've been missing out of the 2C. He gives you all of that. He is so fun to watch. And it just feel like while he was doing well in Buffalo, it's when you come to a team that just plays a different style, which really is not his style,
Mm.
but he's adapting to it just fine. He's becoming one of my more. It's almost like I know what to expect watching Cale Makar. I know what to expect watching Nathan MacKinnon, and Casey Middlestat is the shiny new car, which hasn't been driven all that much. So you're always paying attention to that right now because he's exciting. He is so fun.
And you know what? And something else, I don't know if this is just the history with Jordan Binnington and the Blues with this Avalanche team, but I cannot remember the last time the Avalanche this season have been so they had that net front presence. Usually their goals are coming off drives, snipes, nice little moves, and extra pass. But there were so many rebounds and the Avs getting an extra touch or two or three right there in the crease in the slot. And it really stood out. You usually see like the Avalanche on those long shifts passing around almost like it's a power play. The exhausted team is kind of coasting in, protecting the net. But the Avs were really driving and setting up plays around Gretzky's office. And that was, I don't know if this is new, refreshing is what it is, but to see them do this, it reminded me of like when Landeskog used to play and just having that little wrinkle. And I don't know if that's something Middlestat's going to start bringing, if that's what Nuke's new role is going to be, but I loved the net front presence for the Avalanche.
Yeah, it's much more defined. And like I said, that's I think for that play, Middlestat that's where he was. That's where he happened to be, and it was just one of those like Johnny on the spot plays where Sam Girard saw him, fed him, and done.
Yeah.
But no, like Casey Middlestat, like he floats everywhere. He's everywhere. Like I want to see a heat map of just him because he won't like you know what you're gonna get with Valenchuski. Like he's going right to the net front. He's gonna do his dirty work there. Middlestat's everywhere. He's absolutely everywhere. He's man, he's exciting. All right, let's get our first break in here. There's more I want to talk about with the lines, obviously, and Mikko Rantanen. We haven't really touched on him at all yet. Hat trick, 7th of his career. He played phenomenal. So we'll discuss all that. We got a lot more to get to on today's episode. Be right back after this. All right, let's hear from eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, which we call what, Mr. Sullivan?
The Nathan MacKinnon trilogy.
That's right. eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit every time, or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply, and eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, man. Yeah, as far as St. Louis goes, they gave you their best shot, and it was a good shot. You know what I mean? Like they stuck with you, and you handled it. And I bring that up to say, like, we always talk about the top line, and I thought they were fine as usual. The Mikko Rantanen, Nathan MacKinnon, Valentin line, they were out there for a total together, the three of them, 12 minutes and 45 seconds flat. They were outshot by St. Louis, 13-18, believe it or not. So does that mean they were outplayed? I mean, I think St. Louis hung with them for sure. But you look at that, and then you turn around and you're like, well, Mikko Rantanen had a hat trick. So who really won here? You know what I mean? Credit St. Louis for standing toe to toe with one of the best top lines in the game. But in the end, like, this is what the Avalanche can do to you. They can still, even if you feel like you're getting the best of them, the Avs find a way. And Mikko did it in like 3 different ways for this game. You know, he had the beautiful tip from on the power play. The first one from Nathan MacKinnon was just, those ones are just, how do you, not everybody can take a shot like that. Kind of going against the grain, and he shoots it to the far side, right in the 7 hole, it seemed like, of Binnington. Just, he was on his game tonight. And you could tell when he's like that, he just has a different vibe about him and just how he skates. He was carrying the team, if you ask me.
Yeah, and I like that you point out that the Avs top line got outshot, and it was a point to bring up, because when was the last time this Avalanche team this season? It's nice to not rely on that top line to win games like this. You have a desperate, hungry, backed into the corner St. Louis Blues team. I'm giving all the credit in the world to, and how they played. This was a well played game, and you know what? Guess what? If the top line's not producing, all these moves, everybody getting hot at the right time, you believe in your second line for a change. You don't have, like Rijo there anymore. You have confidence in lines 2 and 3 and whoever's on 4. And if it comes back around, you're still pushing, but you don't have to push as hard. Even though Mikko had the hat trick in his just unconventional, like, this is going to be a blurb tomorrow. Anybody else, this is a big, like, dog and pony show. Let's all just give the socials to it. But Mikko, for some reason, is always forgotten about. It's just kind of, yeah, he had a hat trick and let's move on. No, Mikko is so underrated for what he provides when it comes to scoring and how he could score so unconventional, that it's an awesome weapon to have, even when they're not shooting 20 shots every period.
Yeah. And, again, like, as tight as this game was, I'm just looking at some of the goalie stats. There was only one high danger chance for each team. Yeah, I'm seeing one against Binnington, one against Annunen, Medium danger against Binnington was 7. Against Annunen, only. Oh wait, hang on. Let me see. I got it. High danger. Where'd it go? High danger shot. I'm sorry. So for against Annunen was 1, or against Binnington was 1. Against Annunen was 3. So that's not bad. I mean, 3 is fine, but 7 against Binnington for medium and 13 against Annunen for medium danger shots. So I just thought it was a tightly contested game on both sides, and it was the ice was tipping back and forth all of the time. And as far as the goalies go, Justus Annunen thought he did fine. I think this is another solid game. This is what you want out of your backup. You know what I mean? And he's been playing well. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think that this is your backup for the remainder of this season, clearly. And you had a team. What did shots on goal for St. Louis? It was over 30, 33.
Yeah, it was 33. Yeah.
33. So that's a good workload. So he's impressing me. And it's not like he's giving up like these easy goals. The one goal that he did have could have been challenged. I'm glad the Avalanche didn't. But he's not letting in just these simplistic goals where you're just smacking your forehead and be like, dude, what are you doing? He's playing great.
And he's not playing goalie like Goldberg from the Mighty Ducks. He's not just sitting in one spot and just, taking like 80% of the shots away. No, he's making the moves. He made one. It was from the right side of the net all the way over to the left side, sliding, saved a puck off his leg. And I was astounded. You're supposed to be a backup. You shouldn't be playing like this, but he is. And it's one of those that you can argue that there is a 1A, 1B, and you're perfectly confident in whoever you have going up. There is no backup. You have 2 good goalies, and whoever starts that night, you're perfectly fine. It's almost like a pitching rotation. If it's Eustace, if it's Georgie, you're perfectly fine. You know what you're going to get, and the defense will adjust.
I was wondering if they were going to start him in this game because, like we said, like St. Louis has got a lot to play for. You're going to get a great game from them. So they put him in, and now that because when you played on Saturday, that rests Georgiev until Friday if they want to play him Friday, which is against the Blue Jackets. So in my head, I'm thinking like, well, your backup, you might want to play him against the lesser team. So you'll have Eustace go on Friday with it being St. Louis division, kind of a lot to play for both teams. Maybe that's where you start your 1A. No, I guess they had a plan, and it was Annunen, and I think it was another one of those of like, hey, it's twofold. We're gonna have you start this, and that gives Georgiev about a week's rest, and we'll see what you can do, kid. Why keep testing him all along the way, because you don't want him to just get the lesser teams. You don't want him to get the Blackhawks all the time. You got to test him every once in a while. I think this was a good one. This is a middle, a little bit higher than middle of the road team, and I think he performed admirably. So good for him. Another good one in his pocket.
Yeah, at this point in the season, why not? What's it going to hurt? And you need to test him eventually. You can't just keep protecting him and rolling him out for just your mid to average non-playoff teams either.
Well, I think for the Avs, I'm sure, they have not forgotten what happened and what they needed to do in 2022 to go win the cup.
Yeah.
I mean, they needed their backup for that. So to not do this, to not give him opportunities against better teams, and then if you need him in the playoffs and throw him into a situation where now it's a playoff series, it's still going to be daunting. Doesn't matter how many games he plays in regular season. This is going to be his first attempt in the playoffs if he gets action. You don't want to look back and say, I wish we played him more, or I wish we played him against some better opponents to get him more seasoned. So I give him credit for not doing that, because they could have easily gone and just had him play against the Blue Jackets, because then you're not playing until Sunday. Georgiev still would have had a nice rest from Tuesday or Wednesday till Sunday. That's still a good rest. But no, I like what the Avs are doing with them.
And you look at the Avalanche remaining schedule, and with how this team's playing, there isn't really a game that's making you shake in your boots. So you can really roll your goalies out there and rest them all the way to the playoffs.
Let me see about that, because I know they're ending the season in against Edmonton, but what is going to be on the line, we don't know yet.
I know the Rangers are in there as well, but
you got the
still.
Rangers, Oilers twice actually. Oilers at the beginning of April, Dallas. There's a good one. You got Dallas and Winnipeg. So you got the Rangers, which that's East Coast. Like, so that's that's a nice matchup on paper, and that's two top teams going at each other. So maybe I would say the Rangers, the first Oilers game, Dallas, Winnipeg, maybe the Golden Knights right after that, and the asterisk on the last game of the season against Edmonton. So, I guess it's half and half. Like, you got the Wild in there twice, the Predators, who right now are in a playoff spot, Canadians, I think they are. I thought I saw something anyway, it doesn't matter. But no, it's a little bit of both. Yeah, you have a pretty favorable schedule for the most part.
And with how this team's playing, they've won 7 in a row. Why not 8? Why not 9? Like, with this team and how they're playing and how everything is clicking, and especially after the St. Louis game, and it's one of those that we feel good about this team up against anybody, and that's how I feel right now. I don't care who the goalie is. With this team top to bottom, I feel good against whoever.
Just watching this game, I was comfortable. I was not cocky. I don't do that. I never do that, but I was just comfortable that they're going to play a solid game here. And I just felt comfortable they were going to pull this thing out. It doesn't always happen, but at least for this one, it did. So just go through the stats quickly. You had Valenchuskin with 2 assists, Jonathan Drouin with 2 assists. Nathan MacKinnon gets a lone assist, which keeps his point streak alive. So that's good. And then we'll see if he can continue his home point streak, which is the next game. You'd have to think he can against Columbus. Come on now. Middlestat gets a goal, the 3 goals for Mikko Rantanen, Cale Makar with an assist, and Sam Girard with an assist as well. So, yeah. And then you look at the time on ice again. That's nice and spread out. No, I don't really have any issues. Right? Clear the puck better. Maybe move around a little bit more on the power play. Thought the power play was a little bit more stagnant than I wanted it to be, reverting again to maybe older habits, but they got results.
So you're the only one to convert on the power play in the game. You're 1 for 3.
Yeah. Overall, things are looking good. All right. We will get to our sound check. And remember, Chris Simon, former Av player. We'll do that next. All right, let's hear from Game Time, and you shouldn't have to worry when you're buying tickets to your next big event. Game Time is a fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, views from your seat, and their price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. So download the Game Time app, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, so create the account and redeem that code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
Oh no, Chris, you froze.
Are we good? I think. All right. We're good? Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. So if you're longtime Avalanche fans, and if you're in the age brackets of Kyle or myself, I don't want to lump Kyle in with me because I'm a little bit older than he is. So I don't want to do that. And you've been following the Avs for a long time. You know the history, you know the story. Chris Simon was a big part of the early years of the Avalanche because he was with that team when they won their first Stanley Cup when they moved from Quebec to Colorado. Wasn't with them for very long, but he was a part of the trade that the now legendary trade that sent Eric Lindros to Philly in exchange for pretty much everything.
Yep.
Like 4 or 5 players, cash, 2 draft picks, and Chris Simon was a part of that. So the big names are Peter Forsberg and Lindros. Those will always be the headliners of that trade. But Chris Simon was a part of it, and he was his type of player is not around anymore.
No.
He's that enforcer type, but had an offensive touch. And he was a bruiser. He was a bad boy, and nobody wanted to mess with him. But there were other guys in the league who were kind of like him. And you got, when the league was much more of fighting league, he was that guy. Had a really long career. I didn't realize he played 15 seasons.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it. But unfortunately, he lost his life on Tuesday. So we heard about it. And when you just see, when anybody in the hockey community loses their life, it's a sad thing. Add on, when it's a part of the Avalanche family, and he played for a number of teams.
Mm-hmm.
And then add on when it's the early years, and then you start seeing those pictures, and it's those old like uniforms that they first wore. It just, for me, just takes you back to that time, and you get a little bit sad. You do.
Yeah, Chris Simon, I used to love his play. I used to love just that gritty enforcer type, and I used to just idolize the hair. Like I
Oh,
used to
gorgeous head of lettuce.
Yeah, I used to love like Yager and that perm mullet, but just like Chris Simon's, just like I woke up and just put my bucket on, and it was just like long stringy hair. I always wanted that, and I used to try so hard and just could never pull it off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
I
neither could I. Neither could I.
I'm sorry, Chris. No,
Yeah.
like to see, like I used to just idolize that look. I was like, that's a hockey guy, and like to see him lose his life in the way that it happened. It's just it's humbling. It's humbling, and it makes you like take a step back, and it's just hockey players. It's a rough go, and you never really, once they're out of the limelight, you kind of just let them just fade off into the sunset, and it's one of those, they're
Yeah.
human too, and it's rough to see one of the people you look up to gone like this, and you see them in a graphic with the years, and it's rough to swallow, but he was a great guy.
I had a hard time because when this happens, like I'll go look up kind of like clips and maybe highlights of stuff like them when they were playing. And I gotta say, like, and I'm not gonna get into this now. It's not the time for it, but almost all of when you just type in Chris Simon into YouTube, everything that shows up is fighting.
Yeah.
And that was his role. Like he that was a big part of his game. But it's also like how he died and how the brain injuries might have obviously played a role in that. I couldn't watch him.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch him. It just felt like wrong because you knew that led to what happened as he lost his life. So I get it. It was a different time back then. Different time. And it's a whole thing about, how we got to take this stuff seriously. I'm not saying that the NHL doesn't, but personally, like just for, yesterday, it was tough to go through and watch highlights of him because they were all just fighting.
If you want a good Chris Simon clip that will make you smile and remember the good times, he has a really good commercial when he was a Capital of pushing an old lady into a display at a grocery store. It was like a commercial for season tickets. It was really funny.
No way. I gotta look that up.
Yeah.
And that's the other part of him. Like everything you heard about him was on the ice, nightmare to play against. Off the ice, teddy bear.
Yep.
And a lot of these guys are like that. And we're talking about like how he was, a big part of his game was fighting, but he had an offensive ability.
Yeah.
This is another thing I didn't know about. 2 years after he played with the Avalanche, he went and played for the Capitals, and he led them in goals with 29, a massive 29 goals. And if you think like, well, Washington wasn't that good, they made the Stanley Cup final that year. I mean, it was a different time, dead puck era, all that other stuff. But he brought more than just the muscle. He brought you offense. He brought you deep. He brought you everything. So it's a sad loss. It really is. So
yeah, another underrated Av.
Yep, absolutely. So thanks for the memories, Chris Simon. Rest in peace. And it was entertaining while you were active. It was, he was part of all of it. So
yep.
Thanks for the memories. All right, sir. So one last thing that we will do today, and that, of course, is our Locked On Avalanche sound check, where Kyle and I pick one song each that best describes the most recent game. And that, of course, is against the St. Louis Blues. These songs we put up on place, like I said, on Spotify. You can search for it. Just go find LOA Soundcheck. This is volume number 3. So what do you got for this one, sir?
Not Grateful Dead, not Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, man. Not Metallica?
Not Metallica, not Pantera.
Okay.
Because I believe in the Kingwood days. We're going Millencolin, Moose Man's Jukebox.
I don't know if I know. I mean, I know Millencolin, but they were a friend of mine in high school loved this band. And that's really all my experience with them. I got to go back and kind of reintroduce myself to them because they were big in my teenage years.
Yeah, I used to do Primus, Millencolin, and Goldfinger when I used to skateboard.
So what's the song again? Tell me what it is.
Moose Man's Jukebox.
Oh, perfect. Come on now. I love it. I got to go check. I don't know if I got to listen to it.
Yeah, Moose Man's Jukebox. It's a
right.
really good song. Great vibe.
All right. I said I was gonna do like road songs all throughout this road trip, and I've done that. And I'm gonna end it with, like, in my opinion, like the ultimate road song. And I don't know any other song that this guy has, but it's Tom Cochran's "Life Is a Highway." How can you not put that song on a playlist that is revolving around the road? Because that's what it is. Roads. Roads.
It's the SpongeBob movie. Road.
Yeah. Dude, this song has withstood the test of time. I remember hearing this song in the 90s. It was just like a throwaway song. It's one of those songs that whenever it's on, you listen to it. Do you not?
Yep.
It's fantastic.
And it's like immortalized it, like got a second life in Cars and a third life in The Office.
Yep. It's fantastic. It is just a great, well-written song, all about life on the road, which the Avalanche just wrapped up. So you have to, that's like you're saving the best for last. That is, in my opinion, the best road song ever. Boom. We're putting it on there. Done.
Thanks, Todd Cochran.
Absolutely. All right. That is going to wrap it up for today, everyone. Thank you for tuning in and making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. We will be back tomorrow, whatever's going on in Avalanche Nation. We know where Kovalenko is. He's back down to the AHL. Maybe we'll talk about that. Very good article in The Athletic about Chris McFarland and his deadline deals. We'll probably bring that up as well. So definitely tune in for tomorrow's episode. But for today, that'll wrap it up. He is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli. This is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. We'll see you guys tomorrow.